lost 8 of 9 games. Antetokounmpo currently out with a calf injury. They're hosting the Bulls tonight at Fiserv Forum. Turning to the Badgers, they're getting some well-earned time off this week. Don't play again until Saturday when they travel to take on Indiana. They give you the first of 5 straight games against teams with winning records in conference play. Much of the talk around the Badgers this season has been on their stars, John Blackwell, Nick Boyd, even Nolan Winter, but several bench pieces have been key too. That includes sophomore Jack Janicki, who Greg Gard lauded for his recent efforts.
He understands how, he doesn't have to score to help this team. If he does, great. He had a great drive left and finish. But his ability to kind of be a catalyst for us and defensively and just the energy and the hustle he plays with, it's important for our team. He's an important piece.
Again, Wisconsin will be at Indiana on Saturday.
Every child deserves a fair shot at a bright future. That's why Save the Children Head Start administers Head Start programs in rural America. We leveled the playing field early, helping children start school strong, stay strong, and unlock their full potential. Because education is the best path out of poverty. Learn more at savethechildren.org/Head Start.
Well, the Patriots and Seahawks going to face off on Sunday in the Super Bowl. The other 30 teams deep into their offseason modes. That includes for the Packers. Made a number of moves, among them extending the contract of GM Brian Gutekunst. He will speak with reporters tomorrow for the first time since that happened. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Day number 2, Radio Row here in San Francisco. Hey, thanks to Flipside Pub and Grill, and I'll have to hammer the great work that they do throughout the show, including again and again telling you about a fish fry because San Francisco is a little different. I had some Vietnamese food last night. I don't think my palate and my I don't think I'm up to snuff culturally, but I'm trying to get there over the week. I do miss Flipside and their fish fry. And I'm looking forward to getting back to Wisconsin and enjoying a little bit of that. They present the show all week, including some of our great guests, like the one that sat down right at the beginning of the show. How lucky are we from the Locked On Packers podcast? Peter Bukowski is here. Peter, how are you today? You were doing some great work. I saw you with Evan Williams.
Yeah.
I can't wait to sink my teeth into that conversation and listen to the things that you discussed later tonight.
You're making me hungry. Speaking of sinking your teeth in, like now I want fish fry. They don't really, fish fry is not a Cali thing. Like they're not going to do that out
Is
here,
it a New York thing? You live in New York. Can you get a proper fish fry?
Well, not really. Like they do fish and chips, so it's a different. It's like cod. No, but like there's a difference between cod and perch. Come on.
Well, sure. Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think deep fried cod counts. It's not perch. It's not walleye. But
see, if I see fish fry and I show up and there's cod, we're not at a fish fry.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Maybe we have to discuss.
Unless we caught it. Like, did we go to Canada and like catch it? Like that would be a different thing.
Okay, that's fair.
Where can you catch cod? I don't even know.
The Atlantic.
Maybe
the Pacific. Yeah. One of them.
Can we talk about something I know about?
Yes. In fact, I brought this up yesterday because we were discussing Jonathan Gannon. The Packers had announced him. I just noticed a trend on your podcast.
Uh-oh.
I think you do great work. I notice a trend where the Packers do something, and then I don't even. You talk to people and you're like, here's all the great things that I heard about this. This is why this person, Gannon, is so well respected. They brought back Mac LaFleur. Here's why that's the right choice. Yeah. I just noticed that you. Carrying water is that's a negative connotation, but you tend to support what the team does, or you have recently. So let's talk about starting with their decision to bring back LaFleur.
I don't know that that's always the case. Certainly, I think that
this offseason, maybe the last move or two.
I think generally my nature, Grant, and you know this about me, is I want to figure it out.
Okay,
right? Like, okay, why do they do this? What is the reason? What is the upside case? Like, why does this make sense? Let me try and make sense of it. I always say that I like to solve problems when I do my show. Like, there's this problem. First thing we're going to do is talk about the problem.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. The team can't close. Why can't they close? All right. Here's why.
Okay.
And then here are potential solves for that thing. And so this is why. So when we talked to Evan Williams, and I know he was on with Bill, and he said the way you close is through detail. You have to be detailed because late in the game, the fourth quarter, they start. He called them micro blown coverages,
sure,
or mini blown coverages. It's
little
like
things.
Can you be? That's sort of like being half pregnant or like sort of. Either you blow the coverage or you don't.
I would agree. Yeah.
But my point is the detail part. That was the part with Jonathan Gannon where that stood out like right away when I started talking to people that like he is someone who is going to have everyone on their details. That 2022 Eagles team, they played so disciplined. They played so in sync, and that is what you hope they can bring. That like so. I try and figure out, okay, why did the Packers do this? I think that's one of the reasons is they wanted to be buttoned up. And you could hear, not to overpump my interview with Evan Williams, but he seemed really excited about the prospect of getting more DBs on the field, having Javon Bullard on the field like all the time, right?
Those are their better players. Aren't there better players that, well, the safeties, I don't know.
You'd rather have Javon Bullard on the field than Tyron Hopper.
Yeah.
And that's no shade at Tyron Hopper, but Javon Bullard became a really good player this year.
Took a nice step.
And so having those guys on the field, I think is something that can benefit this team. Like Evan seemed really optimistic about what this is. He liked Jeff Hafley, but you could sort of hear without him saying these were things that we didn't do. He was saying these are things we didn't do that I'm glad we're going to get to do. And I think that is interesting. Like that part of it is trying to figure out what it's going to look like next, what could happen, what it could be. I don't know. I'm an optimist when it comes to those things. I'm a problem solver, and so I want to figure out, okay, what can it look like moving forward?
Do you think Jeff Hafley lacked in detail? Because everyone loved him. Everyone loved him.
But just because everyone loves Rich Bisaccia, and that team does not, the special teams do not play detailed football. They just don't.
Not
and so this is certainly one place where I've been critical of the Packers, and that is I don't understand what does he do? What is the value add for him on this football team other than he's a great guy in the locker room? Okay, that's nice. You look at around the league, the modified kickoff rules. Do the Packers have a plan for that? Do they know like how to maximize what those rules are for them? No, they're not going to be. And I've talked to people that have worked with Bisaccia before on staffs, and they're like, he's not going to be like in the lab dialing up new cool stuff. He's a rah-rah guy that's going to get your guys to play hard, and that's sort of where it stops. And that's just like the game is so close now. The coaching talent is so good that you need those little edges. The Rams. Special teams cost them their season. And so, like the Packers, special teams cost them their season. I can't blame Rich Bisaccia for Brandon McManus having an out-of-body experience trying to kick the ball, but big punt returns to set up scoring drives for the Bears in that playoff game. The Panthers game, missed kicks.
Yeah.
The Broncos game, missed kicks. This is a trend here for this team.
For me on special teams, the missed kicks is one thing and the long returns is one thing, but just on balance over the course of a season, it's 2 or 3 holding penalties a game that can amount to 30 plus yards of field position or more a game. And, we talk about how this offense, the EPA per play and the efficiency is so great. Why isn't the output better?
I've been attacked.
How? Yeah, you were EPA man. And
Jordan Love is EPA man, according to the Bears fans.
That's true. One of the things that I theorized throughout the year is, when Jordan Love is constantly trotting out and starting at his own 18, like no matter how efficient you are or how good your EPA per play is, when you're demanded to go 80 plus yards every drive, the scoring output just might not always be there. It might not match how good your offense actually is.
And that's something that I think, you look at the EPA numbers, and I do, and you go, why is the scoring doesn't match what we see in the EPA per play? Why does that happen?
Mm-hmm.
And there are a couple of reasons. Third down is a big one. The Packers are great on third down, which are high value EPA numbers, but they don't if you convert 3 third downs on a drive, that's going to be very valuable to EPA. But if it ends in a field goal, ultimately that's not as successful a drive as it could be. And so that is something that where you look at points per drive. They were good points per drive this year. They didn't have that many drives. And they were not able to create when teams wanted to put a roof on everything. They did not have. Tom Brady mentioned this last year, and it's lived rent-free in my head ever since he said it, that this is not a detailed intermediate passing game.
I remember that.
They can create explosives as well as any team in the league. They were top 5 in explosive plays all year long, even without a good running game. But on 3rd and 6, it's all just Jordan Love trying to make something happen, or it's Matt LaFleur having to scheme up something nice. And they throw past the sticks, and they do like really good stuff on 3rd down. But on 1st and 10, it's nice to get 15.
Yeah.
You don't have to get 50.
It's nice to avoid 3rd down sometimes.
It's nice to avoid 3rd down altogether. And they I think last year too often, and this was something that wasn't happening at the end of the year, but in the middle of the year was a big problem, right?
Yep.
The Panthers game is a great example. The Eagles game is a great example. It's just sort of like, that was when I started to come on board with the Matt LaFleur stuff. Because I'm like, this is just not NFL offense. This is not
with the criticism.
With the criticism of Matt LaFleur. Like I heard it in a way that I had not really registered it before. And then I felt like starting with the Lions game, he really took the governor off and just let Jordan Love go play. And that's something where if they start that from day one next year,
sure,
I think that will pay massive dividends, but they might not, right? Like that doesn't mean they will do that. But like, it was almost like they had to really learn that their running game stunk.
They had to prove it
over and over and over.
It felt like Bill and I, or even on this show, I would say, well, if they can't run it this week, they won't be able to run it at all.
And then they wouldn't. And then next week.
And then the next week it'd be like, but the Steel, like maybe they can run it. And it just felt like we're going to make damn sure we can't run the ball before we abandon it. And it was Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And it probably cost them a game or two, which means they're the 7th seed. And
it cost them the Eagles game, and it cost them the Panthers game.
Yeah.
And what's funny about the Panthers game is that was actually, there were times when they were a little too aggressive, and it was like they couldn't find that Goldilocks zone. And I think part of that is the personnel. Do you have someone that can run that like 12-yard dig and be open consistently? Like that's not really what Christian Watson does. It's kind of what Dontavian Wicks does, and that's why he was so good in that Lions game against man coverage. He was also hurt all year. I do think that's something Matthew Golden can do, but another piece of LaFleur criticism that I think is worth leveling here is we saw Matthew Golden, how good he was in the Bears game.
Mm-hmm.
Are we just going to pretend like he couldn't have been doing that all year? Like why? And I know he was hurt in the middle of the year too, but I thought he was really stacking, sorry, Mike McCarthy, to borrow this. He was really stacking success early in the season. Then Jaden Reed comes back, Christian Watson comes back, and it's like, well, now you're going to be relegated to this other role. I think without Romeo Doubs this year, I think Matthew Golden is going to be elevated in a real way. And because this is not an offense built around Tucker Kraft, who I do think is their best pass catcher, I think that's going to mean a lot of opportunities for Matthew Golden. I think this team with Golden, Watson, Reed, and Kraft, that is as an explosive a 4 as any team in the NFL has. But they have to be able to make some mid-range jumpers too, right? Like I think that's the final evolution of this offense. I asked Evan Williams, like the Seahawks beat the 49ers, 41-6 in a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
The Packers are really good. Why? Where are those games? Even every once in a while, a team will stumble into a 35-13 game. Everything clicks. Why did the Packers not have one of those last year? They did in 2024 when they weren't. I don't think they were as good in 2024. They beat the brakes off the Saints. They beat the brakes off the Seahawks. We didn't see that like at all this year. They were on their way to doing it against Denver. That would have been a signature win. Everyone gets hurt. And you have that moment where you're just like, man, this team is just like, it felt last year that they were cursed a little bit.
It did in that game, especially. And I want to go back to that. I would love to know the alternate universe where Parsons and Watson don't go down. And maybe they would have blown that game like they blew all the other one. Like I'm not discounting that possibility. I would just love to know. Peter Bukowski is here, Locked On Packers, The Leap. What's the one thing that Matt LaFleur has to change or has to get better at if this team is going to, let's just say, make a Super Bowl? Forget winning, just like get over the hump that they've been unable to get over.
I think part of it is what we just talked about with the aggressiveness in calling the game. I think he's a really good play designer. And I think generally when he wants to do certain things, he's good at finding the best ways to do those things. But he doesn't always have, I don't think, the knobs dilated correctly.
Feel the game.
The feel of the game, yeah. And I think that part of that is, you know, he's fourth down decision making. He's a very emotional coach when it comes to some of that stuff. I wish they were a little bit more tethered to some of the underlying numbers and stuff like that. But I also understand that I'm just like a guy with a laptop and he's the coach.
Or have a unique approach and stick with it. And I don't want to feel like
this is the thing is have a process that is a process.
Yeah.
Don't just feel, it feels so ad hoc. Where like the Lions, I think there are sometimes the Lions go for it on fourth down and you're just like, Dan, are you okay? Are you feeling okay? But that's who they are.
Yep.
And he can stand at the podium after every game and go, this is who we are. This is our identity. We are going to keep doing this. And it has worked enough for them that the players will continue to buy in. If, you know, the worm turns a little bit on some of the like making it and stuff, then, you know, maybe you have a problem in the locker room where they're like, can we like take the points every once in a while? Because football players are like fans. Like they're not above knee-jerk reactions. They're not above emotional reactions and, you know, the sort of armchair Monday morning quarterbacking that is rampant on talk radio and on podcasts. So like that's what we get to do. But the players are human beings. Like they're there too. And I think if the coach can say, this is our identity and how we handle these situations, it makes it easier to stand in front of your team and makes it easier to stand in front of the assembled media after a game and say, this is why this decision was made. Not just like, I felt like this was the right thing to do.
That makes sense. Excluding Jordan Love and Micah Parsons, who's the most important Packer next year if they want to go farther?
I mean, I think the game that we watched the last time they played made it very clear that the answer is Zach Tom. Because if you look at the splits when he's on the field, the offense is just significantly better than when it's off the field. And there is a trickle-down effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, offensive line is one of those positions where I think we underestimate at times the gap between the starters and the backups. And I think nowhere is that more apparent. Well, I mean, probably quarterback is the place where it's most apparent. But the second most apparent place is offensive line.
I think it was more apparent on the Packers O-line this year, just than at quarterback.
Because Malik Willis came in and played great, right? But you feel like you have great depth. I came into the season saying this is the deepest offensive line in the league.
I thought so.
Well, that's true until 3/5 of the line are hurt.
And then Rasheed Walker needs his face mask replaced in Cleveland.
Right. And it's like, what is happening here? It's sort of like the analogy that I use is like, if you leave 15 extra minutes when you go somewhere, you're inevitably early. But if something happens where you needed that cushion, you really needed an hour.
Sure.
And so, like, if something happens, you're going to be late.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, okay, being early, being always 15 minutes early is nice, but it's not actually going to save you if something, unforeseen happens, you get stuck in traffic or there's an accident right in front of you. Like, those kinds of 15 minutes, not going to save you. So I feel like that's kind of what depth along the offensive line is, because at a certain point, there's just a critical mass of injuries, and that's where they were this year. I also think Rasheed Walker did not play to the standard that he has set for himself. He almost single-handedly sold the Bears game. I mean, his second half was an abomination.
And I think the case that he did.
You can, and had Zach Tom played, I think Jordan Morgan might have started that game at left tackle. And at the very least, after the first half, Jordan Morgan would have been playing in the second half if Zach Tom is playing, and they probably win the game.
You feel good about him left tackle if he's the left tackle week 1 next year?
I would have felt a lot better had I seen him play football in the NFL at left tackle at some point this year. I don't understand what the plan was in the preseason, Grant. Anthony Belton is apparently a tackle only in the preseason. And then the first time they need a guard, he plays guard. Why didn't he train there?
They had 3 left guards. Belton and Jenkins and Banks were all probably best at left guard.
Yeah, probably, but Belton hadn't even played there. He hadn't even practiced there. So like that, it's so hard when they we're going to cross-train everybody. And then the one guy they don't cross-train is the guy that they just makes his first start at guard, and the first snaps he takes probably ever at guard is in a game where you need to win. Like, that's some of the stuff with the offensive line where I'm just like, I don't know what the plan is here. And Jordan Morgan, same thing. They I guess, let him compete at left tackle in the preseason. He played really well. And then, well, no, now you're in a right guard rotation with Sean Ryan. Like, what? That doesn't make any, either let him play tackle or let him practice at being a guard. Like, maybe he would have been a better guard when he had to play. He was bad at guard. Mm-hmm. Maybe he would have been better had he just practiced there. Or maybe you could have gone to him instead of Rasheed Walker when it became clear 6 weeks into the season that not only was Rasheed Walker going to shoot his mouth off in stupid ways, but that he was also not going to play well. And then you would have had someone to put in there. So they've mismanaged the offensive line so many times that I don't know how you can trust that they're going to be able to get it right the next time. But in terms of is he a day one left tackle starter in 2026? I think that's going to be the plan. We'll see how it goes.
I think Ryan Wood brought this up when he was on with me last Friday. I think this organization probably needed to be humbled a little bit on the O-line. You nail the 4th round pick at left tackle, you nail the 7th round pick, you can move everyone around, and it had been working seamlessly for so long. They probably needed a year to be humbled.
And they've been nailing 4th round picks from time immemorial to turning them into high quality players. So they just think, well, we can just put anybody in there. And the reality is, no, you can't.
60 seconds. You like the Super Bowl matchup? Thoughts on the big game?
I think this is a great Super Bowl matchup. I don't know that the Patriots were one of the best, 3 or 4 teams in the NFL this season, but the Seahawks certainly were. I think the Super Bowl was last week. I think the Seahawks are going to win. But I love the Patriots are a blue blood franchise. They've got an up and coming quarterback. I'm bummed that Drake May is not 100% healthy because I'd love to see him 100% healthy against this defense. I think there's a chance they eat him alive, but I think Mike Vrabel is a good coach, and this defense is playing really, really well for the Patriots. This could be one of those 17-14, why did we watch this kind of games at the end?
It's funny. I heard people today, I've heard on different shows. It's like, man, there's no stars this year. There's no Mahomes. There's no Kelsey. I'm like, wait, I was here a year ago when everyone was so sick of Mahomes and Kelsey and Taylor Swift. And now it's like we have 2 football teams with good coaches and no one. Well, not no one. I love the game. A lot of people are they're kind of snoozed by it, but not me. I'm a football purist. You know me. I just love the trenches.
You are. I've always said that about you. Big football guy.
Thank you for the time, Peter. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you as well. We will be back in a couple of minutes. Continue our coverage here from Radio Row.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Day number 2, Radio Row here in San Francisco. It's the Wisco Sports Show. Appreciative of Flipside Pub and Grill on La Crosse's North Side for their support of the show this week and all the time. I mean, they're a sponsor. They have been for a long time. We love doing shows there and love working with the folks at Flipside, especially during Oktoberfest. It's one of my favorite weeks and weekends of the year, but especially when we want to go broadcast it, spring training, the Super Bowl. I'm hopeful if a couple of things work out in a few weeks, I'll be down at the Combine for a few days. That'll be fun. And maybe Flipside will want to partner with us and be a part of that as well. So appreciative of Flipside. I want to pick up right where we left off at the end with Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers, who joined us in the first segment. We were talking about the O-line and Rasheed Walker, how poorly he played in a couple of their big games, but especially in the second half in the playoff game against Chicago, and how he just blew a bunch of assignments. And he's really, really quite a lock for an untimely penalty on a crucial drive in the 2-minute or before half when they're on the edge of field goal range. And it's just, he's a player who was, I think, best described as a very solid Packer at left tackle. And especially as a 7th round pick, a great value and a very good player on that contract and for that draft pick for a long time. He had a penchant for playing his worst football in the biggest games. Now, you could also make the case, well, you're playing the best competition in those biggest games. So yeah, he played poorly against the best edge rushers. He played poorly against Philly last year, or this year, in Chicago in a hostile environment against, a defensive front. I know they're not a bunch of studs, but Austin Booker and Dennis Allen he was cranking it up. He was bringing lots of guys, and it was in that environment, not just that the stakes were higher, but a truly challenging environment to play football. And Rasheed Walker didn't always, bow up and play his best and deliver in those moments. And Jordan Morgan was cross-trained, but never was able to slide in at left tackle because he was either rotating at right guard early on, even though he wasn't a right guard and didn't train at right guard in training camp, or he was playing right tackle because Zach Tom was hurt. Oh yeah, by the way, and Packers fans, I'm not breaking news to you here. Elton Jenkins was moved to center. He didn't really show up ready to play at the beginning of the year at a high level at center, never really got it. Then he got hurt, so Sean Ryan kicks over. Belton's playing right guard. They had so much upheaval on this O-line. And I think it's easy for Packers fans this offseason. I've heard it a bunch. How did they get this so wrong? How did Luke Butkus get this so wrong, thinking that Elton Jenkins could play center or thinking that they could cross-train and rotate Sean Ryan and Jordan Morgan at right guard? How do they think they could get away with all of this? And it's frustrating. You think, I thought Luke Butkus was a good coach. I thought Adam Stenavich is the OC, guy who doesn't call plays, but I thought Adam Stenavich was a coach with a great background in offensive line, and they've had good lines forever, and they've been able to move guys around. And so why didn't it work? And you're so confused as to why these things didn't work in some of the moves they tried, which were pretty audacious, moving some guys around and playing guys out of position. And it just kind of felt like and seemed like the Packers thought they could get away with it. Well, what Ryan Wood pointed out on Friday, I thought it was a great move. He pointed out some organizational hubris, I believe was the phrase he used. And I'll word it differently. I think the Packers needed to be humbled a little bit in the way that they approach their O-line, in the way that they draft O-linemen or coach them or line them up or whatever. And I think through no fault of their own, the Packers were probably smelling their own farts a little bit. And if I were the Packers, I'd be smelling my own farts too. They draft David Bakhtiari in the 4th round, and he's a Hall of Fame level left tackle for them for a long time. And then they replace him with Rasheed Walker, who they drafted in the 7th round. They drafted Elton Jenkins as a left guard. He was instantly one of the better left guards in football. They played him at left tackle. Center's easier than both of those positions. Of course, why would they think anything other than, well, we can move him there? They cross-train guys and move them around and preach versatility all the way back to someone like Don Barclay. Remember that name? This Packers team has been getting away with it for a long time. There's no reason an NFL team should be able to get away with a 4th round pick and a 7th round pick. And by the way, you're covered 15 years at left tackle. There's no reason 1 2nd round pick should be an all-pro left guard, a great left tackle, and a center. But these are the things the Packers have been getting away with. Adam Stenavich or Luke Butkus or Matt LaFleur. So I understand why the Packers would come into this season thinking, we've drafted a bunch of guys. Elton Jenkins has been around the block. Rasheed Walker's been here a while. We'll figure it out. We'll be fine. Do you blame them for thinking that? I think there was some naturally built up organizational hubris. That was the phrase that Ryan Wood used. And I think that was a perfect way to put it. So when we're doing the postmortem on the 2025-26 Packers, I think the O-line is pretty high on the list. You talk about injuries and you can talk about, I think Evan Williams discussed details at the end of the game. And Peter referenced those micro blown coverages, these little mistakes at the end of the games that, not only prevented them from slamming the door, but prevented them from winning a lot of these games outright. You go through the postmortem and you would hit some of those things first, but in very short order, you'd arrive at the O-line and start to talk about what went wrong. Rasheed Walker not playing well, and Jordan Morgan really never settling into a place and playing well and contributing in any position. Sean Ryan rotating at right guard to the point where he basically admitted to reporters in the locker room last year, yeah, this is my last year in Green Bay. I'm going to be out of here. I don't blame him for feeling that way because they had him in a rotation with Jordan Morgan, who's younger, and who they spent a 1st round pick on. So all of these things that went wrong on the O-line, which I think are pretty crucial, which are pretty central to the Packers' failures this year. Maybe not the biggest reason that they came up short. I don't know that the O-line was the biggest reason that they ended up the 7th seed, but I think a big part of why this season wasn't a success, and it's pretty understandable. Like, the organization needed to be humbled a little bit. I reckon that they get together this offseason and say, okay, let's stop trying to patchwork this. Let's stop trying to move this guy over here and rotate this guy over there. Let's maybe center ourselves a little bit, humble ourselves a little bit, and realize we've probably been skating by longer than we should have on a 7th round left tackle and, a part-time right guard, all of these things. So hopefully this season, hopefully it was many things. First and foremost, I hope it was a little bit of an organizational humbling, let's say, for the Packers with how they approach their O-line. And I think they'll probably continue to be good at O-line. Look, this is the worst season they've had with their offensive line in 15 years. And it still wasn't much worse than average. They were a slightly below average offensive line in certain metrics. It's not like they were miserable. It's not like they sucked or they were awful. They were just kind of not great. But that was a big part of the story of this season. And I think it comes from a natural place of hubris where the Packers have been getting away with it for so long. Like, yeah, the bottom kind of fell out this year. They kind of stopped getting away with it like most teams would. Even if you're great on the O-line, you could have Dante Scarnecchia coaching up that position group in his prime. And at a certain point, you can only skate by and get away with so much. And I think the Packers found that limit this year. A couple of comments on live stream. By the way, I'll take your texts tonight. I can't take calls this week because we're at Radio Row in San Francisco here at the Moscone Center, this big convention center. And we don't have anyone back in the studio to answer your calls. So sorry about that, but I'll take your texts, 608-321-1670, and your comments on the live stream. Vagabond John says, Hall of Famers are coached just as much as they are drafted. Yeah, and this goes back to, look at the pedigree of some of these guys. Like Zach Tom is a nice player. I don't think anyone thought with his measurables, for the reason that he was a day 3 pick, no one looked at Zach Tom and thought that's a blue chipper, which is part of the reason I understood the Jordan Morgan pick. And while maybe it wasn't the perfect pick at the perfect time, I understood it. It's like you're just throwing a blue chipper into the room and that will pay dividends, right? Like you're drafting a guy with all of the measurables wherever he ends up playing, whenever he ends up playing. That's a good piece to have in that room. That was not Zach Tom. Rasheed Walker's a little bit of a different story. If he doesn't have that injury in college, maybe he would have been a little bit of a blue chipper, but he has been a pretty solid player for them for a long time. Sean Ryan was a day 3 pick. Elton Jenkins was cobbled over. Belton was a day 1 or I guess a day 2 pick, but I don't know that a lot of people thought he was some perfect prospect. People thought he was a muskox. Okay, maybe do something there. I think, again, they've been getting away with it on the O-line, and I'm not here to tell you that they're going to start spending all their first-rounders on tackles and guards. I still don't think they'll do that. They can't do that this year. They don't have a first-round pick. I just think that maybe they'll take a step back and realize, yeah, we got away with it for a while, but in order to have elite O-line play, and I think that's always been something the Packers have found important. And there are teams where it's not as important. Shanahan's O-line is less of a focus than his skill position group or his running back group. In Green Bay, it's always been a focus. I think Matt LaFleur wants to run the ball. He was unable to do so this year, and they stopped getting away with it on the O-line. And I think there will be a reckoning or a realization this offseason where it's like, yeah, we probably need to rethink some things, retool. And I think that O-line looks very different come week 1 next year. I don't think Rasheed Walker's the left tackle. Elton Jenkins, I doubt, is on the roster. Banks, I'm not quite sure. Depends on who you ask. Andy Herman's been kind of banging the drum. It's like, well, he's set to make $8 million. If you wouldn't sign Banks to a 1-year, $18 million deal, then you should cut him. And I don't know that I fully agree with that logic, although I think it's a good productive way to talk about him and to have that conversation. I don't know who the starting center will be. Sean Ryan might be here. He might not. Zach Tom might not be starting week 1 because he's got a pretty gnarly injury. So that O-line's going to look very different come week 1 next year. And part of that is the way the contracts have lined up. But another part of it is I think they're just going to re-examine some things and realize we had a good run. They really did with 7th-round picks and 4th-round picks and moving guys around. But I think they need a little bit of a reset. And that's going to have to be a big part of this offseason and the way the team is operated moving forward. Because they couldn't run and they couldn't protect. You can feel however you want about Matt LaFleur. It's pretty difficult to operate when you can't run the ball and you struggle to protect, especially in the 4th quarter. When it comes to winning time, when the game's hanging in the balance. I'll take some of your texts coming up next, 608-321-1670. And old Raj, Commissioner Roger Goodell, spoke with the media. He gave a presser yesterday and addressed some of the bigger storylines of the team, or the teams, and this offseason. And I think it's worth picking at. It's worth discussing. So we'll get to that next. Back here at Radio Row, thanks to Flipside Pub and Grill on La Crosse's North Side. We'll be right back.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Our broadcast continues here. Thanks to Flipside Pub and Grill on Radio Row at the Super Bowl. I believe Kate and Bill went upstairs. NBC's media event is going on. So I see clips. Ryan Glassbeagle, our friend from Front Office Sports, I see he's been posting some clips with Matt Berry and Tony Dungy. I still can't believe how many friggin' people NBC has on that Football Night in America show. It's a big show, and certainly it'll be a good thing for the Super Bowl because you have hours of pregame coverage, so they can go to Jack Collinsworth and the McCourtys, and then over here Maria Taylor, and let's go to the desk with Mike Florio, and then Kornacki at the board. I don't know how they'll use him, but they'll probably find a way. Like a billion people on that broadcast. So I believe Kate and Bill are upstairs. Kate posted some awesome content last night at Media Night, including a back and forth with Will Campbell, Mike Clemens getting Elliott Wolf, the Patriots GM, for 4 minutes. Just a great one-on-one that we dug into a little bit on Bill's show earlier today. So lots of great content gumming, mostly from Kate and certainly from Bill, but I'm doing my best. I'm on Twitter at Wisco Grant. Follow the show's Facebook page as well. A couple of texts. Before I move on, I want to get to Roger Goodell's comments, the commissioner speaking yesterday, a couple of big ticket things and big items, big stories going on in the NFL right now. But first, a couple follow-up texts on the O-line. Andy in Sun Prairie says, I know your focus today is on the O-line, but even if their injury-ravaged O-line was mediocre, the special teams was atrocious, and that actually did cost us the second Bears game. I don't know, man. They're up 21-3. Like, I have a hard time believing that you lose that game entirely on special teams. I know McManus mixed some kicks, but folks, they're up 21-3. If you're good enough to be up 21-3, you're good enough to win the game. I don't like the inevitable, well, what did you want them to do? They were injured. What did you want them to do? The special teams. They were up 21-3. And as I say often, the offense is allowed to win games as well. They didn't score enough in the second half. And we can nitpick the other things too, but they didn't score enough in the second half. This text says, I don't know how you fix that other than to fire the coach and blow up their approach entirely. I don't know enough about Luke Butkus. Again, I think a lot of these problems are organizational. Special teams, I don't think they care about it enough as an organization. Defense, the way that the defenses looked both under Barry or Hafley, and I know it drives a lot of people crazy. They sit back and they play a little bit of softer coverage and they let teams beat them underneath. I think that's because that's what Matt LaFleur wants to do. That's what the organization values. And I think the failures of the O-line this last year were on some level organizational. I don't think, I don't know this to be true, but I don't think that Luke Butkus is down there saying, no, I want to play Belton at 3 different spots. And then when he ultimately has to play football, we're going to put him at a spot he never practiced. Like, I don't think Luke Butkus was down there saying, I want to rotate Sean Ryan and Jordan Morgan at right guard. I feel it's important to cross-train both guys. I think organizationally, their approach on the O-line is to move guys around and to try them at different spots. I think that's an organizational approach. So I think the Packers organization this offseason needs to work through some things. Their approach on the O-line, again, in the last segment, I said I think they needed to be humbled a little bit. They were getting away with it. They had gotten away with it for so long. Mike in Porter says, great. Yesterday, we seen you and Kate mowing down wings on the live stream. What's the food of choice today? Wings. Bounty paper towels always is a big stand here, and it's a brilliant marketing ploy. We'll give out free wings. Well, now your hands are going to be disgusting, so we give out Bounty paper towels. So it's not that like, oh, Grant, he loves his wings. He'll plow. It's like we're here working and we're running around all day and there's free wings and I don't have to go anywhere to get them. I don't have to pay for them. Clemhead Mike says, Grant, I started back at the gym this morning. I have a ways to go, but tell Ebo I'm coming for him. I will pass that along. I know Ebo does love to talk about his time in the gym. Clearly, I'm not going to the gym this week, so I'm falling behind, Clemhead. You're probably already ahead of me. A couple of things that Roger Goodell discussed at his press conference yesterday. I would like to get out in front before we address. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 things, bigger picture stories in the NFL, some of which Roger Goodell, 4 of these 5 things Roger Goodell addressed yesterday. I think the NFL is the best run American sports league. I like Goodell's approach. He's a little bit of a blunt force instrument. He doesn't always have the softest touch. He's not always the most sensitive. His league keeps growing. His league keeps making more money. The games are awesome. The product rules. We're all happy. Sometimes we don't all necessarily agree how the sausage is made. And sometimes people look at Adam Silver as more of a players commissioner. Well, you know what the players should want? The most money. And the most money coming in ensures the best of everything. And I think that's always, been at the root of the way Roger Goodell handles the thing. We can agree whether that's right or whether that's moral, but I think the results have been good there. So I think a lot of people, when they discuss, stories in the NFL, they look for a way. Roger Goodell's the worst. He sucks. He's I don't think that. I think he's done a very good job, but there are some really tricky things that the NFL is dealing with right now. First and foremost, they want to move to an 18th game. They want to expand the schedule. And I don't know that that's going to be a net positive for the league. Look, I like watching more football. The injuries this year felt really bad. More travel now, more international games, which is something Roger Goodell was asked about. I feel like 16 was probably fine. 17's pretty good. I know they want to get to that round number of 18. I don't think they need it. Roger Goodell said that they had not talked about that. They had no official plans to add an 18th game. It's like, okay, well, yeah, that can be the company line. The NFLPA interim executive director, David White, which is part of the problem. They don't have an NFLPA director right now because they had scandal, and the way that the previous one was appointed was a little dirty, and we talked about that at the time. But his name's David White, told reporters that the union has no appetite for an 18th regular season game. The union doesn't want it. Roger Goodell is saying that, well, we haven't talked about it officially, but come on. And then, of course, when we talk about going to 18 games, and it's like, well, are you going to add a second bye week? Are you going to, guarantee this? Are you going to guarantee that? That really hasn't been the NFL's way of doing things. That really hasn't been their approach. That really hasn't been how they've dealt with things in the past. It's like, well, we'll take this, but we'll give you that. The NFL has been pantsing the NFLPA in a lot of ways and over a lot of issues for a long time. I don't mean to laugh at this because it's a really jacked up story. One of the Giants' minority owners, or maybe one of the majority owners, I'm not sure, was listed in the Epstein files. And that's something that Goodell was asked about yesterday in his press conference. I don't know how you're supposed to answer that or talk about that. He basically said, we look forward to the facts coming out. I think with the Epstein files, there's a lot of people who are like, well, we'll see what facts come out. And the world works in such a way where we will move on to something else and nothing will ever change. But specific to this Giants owner, his name is Steve Tisch. The statement from him reads as such, and this is pretty not great. Quote, he's talking about him and Epstein. We had a brief association where we exchanged emails about adult women. And in addition, we discussed movies, philanthropy, and investments. I did not take him up on any of his invitations and never went to his island. As we all know now, he was a terrible person and someone I deeply regret associating with. The phrase, we had a brief association where we exchanged emails about adult women. Not exactly great. And Roger Goodell was asked about that. And basically the company line is, we look forward to more facts coming out. We will, it's all conjecture. And I'm pulling up the official statement or the official quote right now. We're going to look at all the facts, he said. It's like, okay. That's basically, and again, I don't know how you're supposed to handle that. The league is aware of the reports, and Steve's response, our office will look into the matter to understand the facts, which I think is probably why this Epstein situation is going to be really depressing, because we'll look into the facts. We don't know all the facts. Well, and there's probably facts that we're not going to know. That's by design. So I was interested to see how Goodell would handle that at the presser yesterday. Obviously, a really tricky subject. The story of international games. The quote that made me laugh, and it made Zach Tom laugh too, because he quote tweeted this with laughing emojis. Roger Goodell said the players that he speaks with love international games because they feel as though they are an ambassador for the league. And I just look, I think there are some players who, to the media or in a press conference situation or speaking to Goodell, what are you supposed to tell Goodell? Like, imagine if you're Dontavian Wicks or you're friggin' Sean Ryan or whoever, and Roger Goodell comes up to you at some league event and says, hey, Sean Ryan of the Green Bay Packers, how do you feel about international games? What are you going to say? That they suck and blow? You say, no, it's cool to be an ambassador for our great league. It's cool to represent in a different country, because, of course, that's what you say. If I had to do an extra show with Bill, and it went until midnight, and he asks Grant, what do you think about the extra hours? What do you think about the show? I'd probably say something along the lines of, it's late, and it certainly makes for a long day, but any opportunity to be on air, I'm never going to say no to that. Like, it's the same thing. You'd say some sort of a company line like that. The Goodell presentation of how players feel about international games is hilarious because the players that he's speaking with are not reliable narrators on the subject. Let's just say that. The Bad Bunny situation is another one that was talked about. I don't really have an opinion on Bad Bunny. If you are someone that thinks like, well, why do we have a Spanish-speaking artist doing, and I realize Shakira was a Spanish-speaking artist, so this isn't completely and totally unprecedented. It hasn't been it's not a complete it's not an alien idea. If you're someone who's like, I don't understand why we're having a Spanish-speaking artist doing the Super Bowl halftime show in California, I'm like, yeah, I get that. I don't really know any of the songs. Now, there's been artists in the past where I don't really know the songs, but I'm like, all right, they're clearly very famous. They're playing the biggest television event in America. I understand people's frustration with Bad Bunny a little bit. Now, if you're someone who's like, I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl because of it, I'm like, I don't know. It's a good football game. I wouldn't let the 12-minute concert on your TV turn you away from the rest of it. I do think that the Bad Bunny decision maybe is a continuation of the decisions made surrounding international games and the expansion of the schedule where it's like, all right, at what point does an opportunity to make more money and grow your audience globally, at what point does that detract from the product here? At what point does that detract from the experience or the health of the players, right? These are the questions that you need to ask when you have an opportunity to make more money, and Goodell's, consistently finding ways to do that. At what point is the juice not worth the squeeze? The Bad Bunny thing kind of weirds me out. And there were players who talked about that and have been, in not publicly at media night last night, but in certain surveys done, anonymous surveys. It's like, yeah, I don't really get it. So if you're someone who's like, yeah, I don't know about Bad Bunny, I don't really get it. Yeah, I'm not sure that I really get it either. But again, it's a concert on your TV for 12 minutes? Who cares? We don't need to turn everything into a culture war. It's just a little odd. It's an opportunity the NFL is taking to grow their global market. And again, it's very similar to international games in that regard. And at some point, I just wonder if the juice is no longer worth the squeeze. When we come back, let's talk about the latest Hall of Fame story. I have another one. Robert Kraft's not going in. This comes a week after we learned that Bill Belichick isn't going in. I'll give you my thoughts on that. And Lindsay Rhodes from Sumer Sports going to join us at 5 o'clock. She was on with Bill yesterday, an outstanding analyst. And I can't wait to not, just ask her about the Packers, but we haven't really talked about the Vikings, the Bears, the Lions. Maybe we could hit that with her and get some thoughts on the Super Bowl as well. We're here at Radio Row in San Francisco, broadcasting live. Thanks to Flipside Pub and Grill. They're food and fun without the franchise. I'm always telling you that. And this time of year is fish fry season. They do it year round. It's always their Friday night special, but especially this time of year, once the holidays pass and we're starting to come out of winter, the days are getting longer. If you are a Catholic, the one true faith, certainly the fish fry, it serves a godly purpose for us, which is ridiculous because it's fried fish. What a great bit that us Catholics have come up with for ourselves. But it's fish fry season, no matter your religion or, to be honest, no matter your religion, it's a Wisconsin tradition. So stop in and enjoy that on Friday nights, as well as their nightly food specials and their happy hour and breakfast, of course, 6 days a week. We'll be back in a couple of minutes to wrap up hour number 1 here at Radio Row in San Francisco.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wrapping up hour number one. We'll pause at 5 o'clock for 2 minutes, and we'll come back with a sports update from Zach Heilprin. Lindsay Rhodes going to join us in just a couple of minutes from Sumer Sports after 5 o'clock. I shouldn't have brought up Bad Bunny. Look, folks, I get it. I'm kind of, I don't know many of his songs. And for those of you who are like, I don't know, he's not an artist I'm familiar with. I'm like, I don't know, man. It's 12 minutes during halftime. It's a television concert. Don't boycott the Super Bowl. Bill was talking with Erica, who has produced, on the floor and helped with guests for a long time. And now she's here with somebody else this year. She's in the booth next to us. But Kate has taken over some of those duties, and we were all talking this afternoon and about the appeal of the Super Bowl and things that we're looking forward to or storylines that we're looking forward to. And I just thought it was interesting because Kate and Bill were talking about how the Super Bowl doesn't have star power. There's no Mahomes and there's no Kelsey. And I'm like, wait, I think a year ago we were all sitting here complaining that it was the same stars and that we didn't like the star power of Taylor Swift. And now it's like we got two new football teams with some different faces and some different stories. I don't know. I'm starting to think that between the halftime show and some other things, we might just like to complain. I love to complain, so I get it. Again, we're going to take a 2-minute break here. We'll get Zach Heilprin's sports update, the latest in Wisconsin sports. Mike Clemens with the latest from Rick Schlesinger and the Brewers kind of starting their 2025 campaign, some news regarding their television coverage. He's got that in there. Clemens also got Elliot Wolf, who we're familiar with. His dad in Green Bay. Elliot was a scout there for a long time. We thought that maybe he would get the job. Brian Gutekunst instead got it in 2017, 2018. And we talked about that yesterday, the John Schneider and Elliot Wolf Packers lineage. So Mike Clemens got 4 whole minutes with Elliot Wolf at Media Night last night. You can hear that on our website, but you also hear a little bit of that in the sports update from Zach Heilprin. And I've kind of tuned out what's going on with the Bucks and what's going on with Giannis, but there's certainly been no shortage of news there and updates. It just doesn't seem like nothing has progressed. I know the Wolves shed some money today and they're considered to be a really hardcore heavy suitor. So maybe something results there. I remember last year we were here and the Bucks traded Chris Middleton and that became something we had to talk about. I would prefer Myles Garrett to just request a trade again. I would rather a hypothetical NFL trade rather than an actual NBA trade. I would not like to waste our time at the Super Bowl talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo being traded, but we'll see. You'll get the latest from that in the sports update. Zach Heilprin, 2 minutes. We'll come back in hour number 2. I want to talk about some of the headlines around the NFC North later on in the show. And right when we're back in 2 minutes, Lindsay Rhodes, Sumer Sports will be here. We'll get to that right on the other side. We're broadcasting live at Radio Row. Thanks to Flipside Pub and Grill. We'll be right back.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Milwaukee Bucks are reportedly issuing counter trade offers for star Giannis Antetokounmpo. It was reported earlier this week that the Bucks were listening to offers for the two-time MVP in advance of Thursday's trade deadline. But ESPN reported last night that they have started to counter those offers. Among the teams interested in acquiring Antetokounmpo include Golden State, New York, and Miami. Antetokounmpo has not played since January 22nd due to a calf injury and has played in just 30 games of 47 due to injury. Turning to Wisconsin, they're getting the week off from playing games as they won't be back in action until Saturday at Indiana. Badgers 8-3 in Big Ten play has them sitting in a tie for 5th in the conference. Wisconsin put up 92 points last Saturday against Ohio State, their 9th game of 90 or more points this year. That's already the most in school history. But there's been improvement on the other end. Greg Gard explained why.
Combination of experience with how we need to do things, a combination of just flat out being tougher and having a mindset that you're not really going to let guys score and taking that personally. They understand how important that end of the floor is, as much as everybody likes our offense and giggles about that and everybody talks about that. The other end is very, very important.
Again, Wisconsin will be at Indiana coming up on Saturday.
Every child deserves a fair shot at a bright future. That's why Save the Children Head Start administers Head Start programs in rural America. We leveled the playing field early, helping children start school strong, stay strong, and unlock their full potential. Because education is the best path out of poverty. Learn more at savethechildren.org/Head Start.
Well, the Packers made the hire of defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon official yesterday. That came a couple days after the extensions for GM Brian Gutekunst and Vice President Russ Ball were announced. Gutekunst slated to speak with reporters tomorrow in Green Bay. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Hour number 2, welcome back. The Wisco Sports Show. If you did not catch Evan Williams on Bill's show earlier today, he was outstanding. Him and Mike doing about 15 minutes with him. So I'm excited to dig into that and hopefully post some video clips as our coverage continues on the evening show. Thanks to Flipside Pub and Grill joining us now. She was on at Super Bowl with us last year. A great analyst, Sumer Sports. We love having their folks. Lindsay Rhodes is here. Lindsay, welcome back to the show. It's nice to see you.
Hi, you too.
What did you think when the Packers made the decision to retain Matt LaFleur? Because on the outside, they blow all those leads. That game in Chicago is about as ugly as it gets. It had been talked about that he was kind of coaching for his job. So what did you think of that decision?
Well, before I get to the specific Matt LaFleur, I think my primary overarching thought about all of the coaching changes this offseason, the teams that decided to change off of coaches that were borderline like that.
Yes.
This isn't the year to do that.
Okay.
Right? So to a degree, that alone was enough of a reason for me that if you are on the fence and it's kind of a some people are for and some people are against, and like the egregious offense is that we are getting very, very far and we have a very good team and we're just not getting far enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think then you pivot to, okay, we're going to move on from you. And some teams did this and then turn to this pool of who. Like, this isn't the year. Last year, there was a Ben Johnson, you know, we've had the Liam Cohens. Like, you've had years
Vrabel's proven.
Where you have candidates that you go, okay, we're going to get rid of our guy because this is the year we're going to desperately try to get that guy who is clearly a star and an up-and-comer, and let's grab him.
Sure.
This year didn't have that guy. And so we saw some teams move on from coaches that were, I think, on the borderline like that. I would put Cleveland in this situation and then say, okay, turn to other options. You said no, you said no, you said no. This wouldn't have happened with Green Bay, obviously. There would have been better options that would have been willing to. You got a quarterback. So you're like moving all of
like
those
the
coaching
Browns
names are going to the front of the line.
Like the Browns they barely hired anybody. It felt like they barely had any options.
And then you kind of feel like you're backed into a corner. You have to hire somebody. And so even if the choice pans out, then you're like, the process by which we got here was like you were the other guy left standing that took the job, and it just doesn't feel exciting. Like, which that's not the goal, is not to do something that feels exciting. But as a fan, I don't think that inspires confidence either. So if you're reacting to the fans who want the change because we should be better, and then you have to essentially start this new era with somebody who also doesn't make you feel like this is clearly going to be better. I just felt like this was the year to, if you're going to kick the can down the road, if you actually are serious that this needs evaluation evaluation and that we are on the fence, this isn't the year. Like, let it play out a little bit further.
Well, I think Buffalo is the fascinating comparison too,
Yes.
because their season ended similarly. They'd been coming up short, and their loss was a backbreaking one. They fire McDermott, and then we all sat and watched their press conference. And we're like, but are you going to get a better guy?
Right.
Like, or is the organization just going to keep chugging along at least at the level they had been at? I don't get the feeling. Like, I wonder if we don't look back at Buffalo and say, actually, McDermott was about as good as they were going to do. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, at the very least, I'm like, what, if you're going to do that, if you're going to make that move, then I think you need like an offensive, like somebody to come in with a different frame of mind. What are we going to do to make this offense a little bit more or less contingent on Josh save us, right?
Yeah.
Like, or, go do your thing, Josh. Or also, I just think you need something different. You need some fresh blood. And they literally stayed in the building.
Yeah.
So the only argument that I could really get behind there was like, we just need some fresh blood. We need a new way of looking at this and talking about this. And then they literally didn't do that.
Yeah.
So but again, I think that once you make that move, I don't know. I assume teams do think about what their next step will be, but it doesn't feel like it on the outside that enough teams say, okay, we're going to do this. And now what?
Yeah.
And now what is something that too many people address after the fact, after they've already made this major move. And this was a rough year in that department. I think some of these teams are going to regret having made the moves that they made.
I think so. I think the Bills are that team. The scar tissue argument is a good one. It's like there's just too much scar tissue. We've seen too much. We can't keep going. But then in order to solve that problem or try to solve that problem, you need to hire someone who hadn't been there for all of that scar tissue. That's an interesting one. What do you think of McCarthy? I think that's a very interesting hire. I wouldn't want my team making it. Well,
see, that alone is the answer.
Okay. As a content creator and someone that likes watching the league, I think it'll give us good content and it'll be fun. And I don't think they'll be bad.
Right.
I think it'll be entertaining.
But they're the perfect example of a team that's like, you know why we're mad? We're mad that this guy always has a winning record but doesn't win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So we're gonna go to Mike McCarthy.
But he's
late
from
in his career. I mean, I get it, but like,
yeah.
I don't know what that does because it doesn't lower your expectations. No. It's not a hire where you go, okay, we're resetting. We're going to bring in, I don't know, Jesse Minter or even a LaFleur, a Mike LaFleur, right? Like, so
we're going to start over.
There's such an unknown attached to him. I don't know if it's going to work, but we've got the tree happening. And so he has been in Sean McVay's orbit once. And so like maybe stuff rubbed off. Like I could see at least throwing a dart at a young upstart and hope that you caught lightning in a bottle and that this is the next Ben Johnson or Mike McDonald or something like that. But you're not doing that. You're going and getting an absolutely known commodity that I think over the years has started to be looked at as a depreciating asset in terms of head coaches. Like we don't see him at the way we saw him at the top of his game in Green Bay. And so is he going to put you over the hump? Are you going to win a Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy? Or are you literally signing up purposely for more of the same? I would rather reset. I would rather, if I was the Steelers, say, let's just hit that button and start that thing. You don't even have a quarterback.
No.
So, like, Mike McCarthy feels so bridgy. Well, what are you bridging?
That's the thing. A bridge quarterback is something that teams do often. A bridge coach. And
that's how I saw Pete Carroll last year. I saw him as a bridge. I was like, he's a bridge
example.
In Vegas. And it didn't bridge, but
the thought process there was
fell
great.
Into the water.
Yeah, it was a horrible bridge. We're Packers fans, right? So we have all of that great history. The staff that he's put together is a lot of his old guard, and Rodgers is a big time reminiscer if you listen to his pressers. So part of me thinks he wants to come back just to like talk about the good old days of when there were two-a-days.
So?
I do. Yeah. If he wants to play at all. Yeah, because you listen to Rodgers talk and he would be a great television personality for this reason. It's like, well, when I got in the league, here's how the quarterback position was different, and here's how our practice schedule was different, and here's how the league is. And I think these older quarterbacks are victims of their own success. They see so much change around them, right? Like they long for the way that things used to be. So I think Rodgers might come back just because of that. That's my theory, at least. Or he'll retire. I feel like those are the two options on the board, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think he goes somewhere else. That doesn't make any sense. But Rodgers is the one quarterback that I would say, if there's something that someone will do that doesn't make sense to me, it will probably be Aaron Rodgers.
That fits. Lindsay Rhodes is here, Sumer Sports. What do you make of the Vikings? because we haven't talked at all. We've talked so much Packers about the Super Bowl, but I haven't dedicated much time so far this week. The rest of the North, the Bears were great.
Yeah.
The Lions took a little bit of a step back. I could see the Lions being right back in the thick of things if they get quarterback settled,
Yes.
or I could see it cratering.
The Vikings, I was shocked by the fact that they moved on from Kwesi when they did.
Yeah.
Like, that just feels weird.
He was
to
at the
me.
Senior Bowl. He was talking to players.
Yes, he's down there. He's doing the job. We've moved into this season. That's like a sign. Like, you're moving on to 2026. You're the guy. And then that something happened when he was gone, or like that we made this move now, just feels so weird. And I mean, the only thing that I can make it make sense to me is that there was just, maybe you're speaking a different language than the coaching staff. And it's like, hey, like, we're not on the same page. It's very important that the general manager and the coach be aligned, and that it became like a choice situation. Flores hadn't signed yet, right?
Yep.
And so I wonder if there's some of that maybe that's connected. I wonder if I literally don't know, but the timing of that was so weird that now I'm just kind of like, what are they going to do? Now you're purposefully going into draft season with an interim GM to do the entire draft. So who's running the show? What is the message? What is the, like, how is it even going to work there? I don't know. It feels like these are things that should have been decided prior to the end of the season, probably, so that you could have just at the very end of the season moved on Black Monday, made this move, and had your pick of some options and had some time to interview people. To wait until the cycle is passed feels like poor process to me. And so I have concerns about that. I do think that, you know, they're clearly, from having won 14 games last year with adequate quarterback play, you could argue they're a quarterback away. I mean, the defense was great. Brian Flores, what he did, they're so lucky to have retained.
He won them games. They won the same amount of games as the Packers last year. And the Packers punted the final game. I know, but like, it's not like they won 4 games. They won 9 games with horrible quarterback play.
Yep. And so, but I don't know. They're one of many teams around the league that are like, I mean, I hope it gets better, because there just aren't very many quarterback options. Like the Falcons, I think, are fascinating this year because Stefanski gets fired by Cleveland, immediately hired in Atlanta, where a lot of people said that they thought that was one of the best jobs available because there is a lot of talent on Atlanta's roster. And it's true. They've got some defensive guys that they nailed in the draft last year. They're building up a young core. They don't have a quarterback unless Penix gets a lot better, same as JJ McCarthy. But there's no path to get one unless you just roll the dice on another one, the way that they did with Penix in Atlanta. But they don't have a first round pick. So now you're waiting until later, and then you're just sort of hoping that, like, you're the next Shuck, or you're the next, or that JJ McCarthy takes a step forward, or that Michael Penix takes a step forward. And if they don't, you're right back where we started, because that's ultimately all that matters. I mean, you could build up a very good team. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything. And you don't have to have the best quarterback in the NFL, but you do have to have a quarterback who's good enough.
And as the Vikings learned, one that starts most of the games, preferably, so it's not a turnstile all season long. Do you think the Bears have arrived, or do you think they're candidates for regression big time next year?
That's a tough one.
Could be in betwing too.
I mean, it could be. I don't necessarily know. I think that they've arrived. I think that they're building. I think what is. I mean, I guess you could make the argument that it was the first year for Ben Johnson, and so maybe we should look at it the same way we looked at the first year for CJ Stroud in Houston, and the first year for Jaden Daniels. But I feel like those were tied to different things. The regressions there, like Washington is a very old roster, right? And so I think that it's possible that Washington and the regression that happened there had to do with them misevaluating the year that they had the year before, and just. I think you have to be honest with yourself in the building about where you actually are in your build. So if you feel like you won some games, but maybe if you actually step back and you can assess your roster accurately and say, we actually won games we maybe shouldn't have won. I think we played over our heads in terms of like, these guys aren't actually individually as talented. They're depreciating because they're older. And so they're about to, like, you can't go all in in that situation just because we were so close the year before. You have to understand where you are in your build, and it looks like they misassessed what they should have taken away from the year before. Washington, exactly. Sorry, I'm all over the place.
No, I'm following.
But I do think that I think for that reason being a way that we can kind of explain the step back in Washington this year. The Caleb thing, not the Caleb thing. The CJ Stroud thing's been bizarre for the last couple of years, like trying to figure out why we're taking a step back and have not gotten better, but instead are getting worse. That's a separate thing. I think Caleb took steps forward. I think in ways that are important, like his sack avoidance went way better. And that is an area that he just had to get better at. Like there were a lot of sacks the year before in his rookie year that were blamed on the offensive line that were actually on him. And the offensive line could have been better the year before and did get better this past season. They upgraded the interior in particular. But Caleb got better at navigating that pressure. And also, I think it just naturally comes with a little bit of experience, understanding how much time you actually have in the pocket. And if you flush out, how fast they're going to come to you. Those are things that come with experience. And I think we saw him get way better. There was in the postseason this year, the Bears game against the Rams, I believe, he had a 0% pressure to sack ratio and like a 40% pressure to escape attempt ratio, which is brilliant. That's exactly what you want for someone of his his style of quarterback play is, the pressure's still coming, but you've now trained yourself to keep your eyes up and to continue looking downfield and get the ball out when the pressure's coming and you're flushing out of the pocket. You're not just tucking and running for a minimum amount of yards. Yeah. And so this is a very long-winded way of saying I think that the build makes sense, that they actually are just progressively getting better and that Ben Johnson made them better. What Bieniemy did, by the way, and now noting that he is not there anymore, what he did with DeAndre Swift in particular, I think is wild that they got him to run in between the tackles. Like he's been a guy since Hard Knocks that we've talked about him bouncing out and they just couldn't get him to run inside. And then Bieniemy did this year. And it's so far into his career to have made that switch to flip it. And then what he got out of Kyle Monangai. So I do think that there's something to watch there. I think Bieniemy was actually very important to them and they don't have him anymore. But I think that the Bears will continue to be good.
I think so, unfortunately.
I know.
As a Packers fan.
I know.
What's the thing that lastly interests you most about this Super Bowl? A player or a matchup or something on Sunday that you're most excited to see?
I'm keeping my eye on what the Patriots do. I like the Seahawks in the game. I think that the two things that are the biggest challenges for the Patriots that I'm interested to see how they try to handle is I think Jackson Smith-Njigba was the amount of talent that he has and that we saw him showcase for us this year is just it is such a challenge for a defensive coordinator. Like, how do you attempt to take him out of the game? And the whole Bill Belichick thing has always been the Patriots. We're going to make you play. We're going to take your best player away. We're going to make you play with one hand behind your back. Or like, if you beat us, someone else is going to beat us. I just don't know that they have, and they have a good defense. I just don't know that he's the guy that you literally can take out of the game. Sean Syed, my colleague, put together a tape or a video earlier in the week where he broke down his play, Jackson Smith-Njigba against the Rams. And it was example after example, like, okay, here we played off and look at how we beat that. And now they pressed him. And look at how he beat that. And now we put him in a box and look at how he beat that. And there's just examples of a pretty good Rams defense just looking terrible. And the Rams fans right now are going, what happened to our defense? They were so bad. And I think that the answer is Jackson Smith-Njigba was very good. And they use him perfectly in conjunction with the run game. The other thing I'll be watching is, I think that the Patriots' only path to win, in my opinion, is to find a way to make Sam Darnold make mistakes. And not in the sense that, like, the way everyone's talking about him here, like, are the ghosts going to come back and he's going to see him again? Like, is the carriage going to turn into a pumpkin as if we're just waiting for that version of Sam to show up and the other shoe to drop? I don't think it's that. I think it's the way that you make any quarterback make mistakes, like Josh Allen threw interceptions in the postseason, right? Drake May has thrown several. A good defense forces you into mistakes, and I think that's the way that they win if they win.
How can people use Sumer Sports? I use it a lot for show prep and digging up numbers for the show, but football fans, what can they use and what can they take advantage of?
So we have a product called Sumer Live that is a live dashboard in game. So if you want to have something open on like a second screen to see what's going on, it has a dashboard that will do play-by-play. So you'll see not only Sam Darnold to JSN for 12 yards, but it'll also tell you on that play that 12 personnel was on the field, that there was a heavy box, that it was cover 3, that there was motion on the play, all of those types of things. It'll pull out impact players on the field. It identified for us 4 times in the NFC Championship game that Sundell, their center, had impact plays 4 times. Nobody would ever see that. Nobody watches the center except for his family. And so now you can go back and say, like, why was this an impact play? Watch the video. And I think it will help people kind of learn more about their team because it draws your eye to different places that they're showing up. And then for this game, you know, we talk all season long about the usage of 12 personnel for the Seahawks and 13 for the Rams. Well, now you can actually chart it. Like there's a full team tendency and usage side of the page on the dashboard that will show you how frequently they've been in 12 versus 11 and 13 or 21 and what their EPA per play in that personnel grouping. And that's just an example. It's like, which run gap are you hitting most frequently and how efficiently are you doing that? It's an insane tool that my colleagues who are smart in the tech space have built out. And I have loved using it during the playoffs. It's free and it's at sumersports.com.
It's for folks who like to keep score during a baseball game, something similar you can now during a football game. Whatever part of your brain is scratched when you do that. And it's something that I like in the stats and for things, you know, after the game.
Or even after the game, if you want to go complain about what your team did or didn't do, this is what you can take away. Or if you just want to be that nerd that knows random things at the Super Bowl party, pull it up on your phone. They won't even know you have it and start calling out the coverages.
Well, and those are two very human things. Having a reason to complain or a reason to annoy people around you. Like
there you go. Go be a show off.
Yeah.
They'll be like, how did you know so much about football?
You know, it's something that's always come naturally to me. You have Sumer Sports open on your phone. Appreciate you, Lindsay. All the folks from Sumer this week so far. Thank you for doing the shows. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back just a couple minutes at Radio Row here in San Francisco. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, welcome back. Thanks to Lindsay Rhodes, Super Sports. I love the Sumer folks. Sam Brookhouse was great yesterday. Sean Syed was really good. Lindsay Rhodes. We're going to have Solomon Wilcott's tomorrow. I just saw Tyler Dunn kicking around. I'm going to try to wrangle him. If not tonight, then at some point this week, because I want to... Not because I want to ask him, hey, man, what'd you think about the Packers' decision to keep LaFleur, which is the only thing that's like my lead question to everyone this week. I actually want to talk about McCarthy with Tyler Dunn, because he was covering the Packers at the end in 2018. Remember that long story? It's like McCarthy was getting massages, and it was a billion pages long at Bleacher Report. We spent like 2 hours on it. And I think it's instructive and it's important. And I'd love to talk to Ty, just because McCarthy and Rodgers could potentially be joining back up, which I would, again, personally love. As I told Lindsay, I wouldn't want it for my team, but I would love to see another team. Kate has joined us at the table. Kate Fox.
Hey.
Hey, hello, Kate. So you guys went upstairs to the NBC media. What's their media day?
I would say it's called a media availability.
Okay.
But what it is basically all of the big NBC people. So people who might be on-field reporters, or they're the analysts, anything pre-post game, they are all there. They're dressed up. They walk on the red carpet. You can get photos of them there. And then what's really, really cool about it is that those personalities, they actually go and sit at tables. So you can wait at whatever table they're going to sit down at. And it's meant to be kind of a conversational piece with the media and what it's kind of like for them.
Round table.
Exactly. Then they'll pull people from the round table, bring them back to the red carpet where they answer questions there as well. So it's just, are you following?
Yes, I'm following.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry. Do I look like an empty look on my face?
Yeah, it kind of looked like you were looking at me like, what the heck are you saying?
Well,
please.
I'm also considering what my next question is. So I'm multitasking.
No,
here.
absolutely. Well, I can keep telling you about everything that we did, but Bill and I had the opportunity to get some really good interviews. First of all, Bill talked to Jack Collinsworth for a long time.
Oh.
Because Bill used to work with Chris Collinsworth.
Yes, Cincinnati people. Jesus.
And Bill had some questions for him, but something that was happening up there that Bill said hadn't happened in years past is that there are a lot of college students.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone who's college media that had the opportunity to be here for the Super Bowl was up there, and they were asking questions as well. So Bill wanted more sit-down interviews, so he was a little bummed about that. But I had the opportunity to actually sit down with Melissa Stark.
You love Melissa Stark.
It was fantastic.
She was good?
Yeah, so we did a couple questions off the books. I kind of just talked to her about what it's like to be on TV as a female and things like that. And we just kind of talked one-to-one about that. And then I have a 4-minute video on my phone that is her answering my questions. And I think I was boxing everybody out like I was playing basketball because nobody felt the need, or
no one else jumped in.
They really were all just staring at me doing this interview and kind of putting their hands up like, can I go next? So I felt very excited about that. It looked like she was locked into my interview.
You dominated the scrum. That's important.
So excitingly that they would not sit down. I talked to her. She has 4 kids, Grant. I don't know if you know that.
I know very little about Melissa Stark.
So she has 2 twin girls who are freshmen in college, and then she has 2 other kids. So she had 3 kids within 4 years. Pretty quick. But she actually took time off of her career to raise her kids.
Not easy to do.
And then came back. And I think for women anywhere, maybe it's your wives that feel this way. If you're listening, they feel like it's either a career that you feel very strongly about, or it's a family. And I talked to her about that and about how she's been so successful with it, and kind of words of encouragement that she had for moms in any career field. You know, it could be nursing, it could be teaching, that want to have kids and they want to have this profession that they feel really strongly about. So I have about a minute and a half of her answering that question. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
You're going to post that?
I'll post that. Absolutely.
What's your Instagram for people who want to follow?
My Instagram is Kate Gunderson 12. I know it's long, but it's Kate Gunderson 12.
Not too bad.
And yeah, that'll be posted. I'm definitely going to post it on my page, but I'll collab The Zone with it as well. So if you want to follow us at TheZone_Madison, always a good thing to do.
Always. You've had a lot of good content, including from Media Night last night. You talked a little bit about that on Bill's show earlier today. But you got some good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a learning experience right now. So when you came to your first Super Bowl, was it eye-opening? Did you learn anything? Because I feel like everywhere I turn right now, I'm learning the ins and outs of the sports world, and I think at any event I'll be better off.
You're better at this than I am, so you're probably learning more faster than I did. First time I came here with Bill, you just gotta. So I've never been to like the media thing upstairs. Bill normally goes to that every year. He's gone with Clements, or in the past he's gone with Erica, and then I've done my show down here. What I've learned at these things is like the talent, the people who are on air, and then there's the people who are responsible for the talent, and those are the people you actually need to know, like the people who are bringing the people around. So it's cool to know that, like at the NBC event, for example, like I didn't know they were that accessible up there.
Oh my goodness, Grant, you would have loved it.
I probably would.
So I'm sorry that you were on air during it.
It's fine. I love being on. I love doing this thing too.
I talked to the other couple questions. I talked to Melissa. If you're interested in the interview, I talked to her about technical skills that broadcasters can have that make them better than other people, because in the sports industry, as you know, Grant, everyone's always talking about just keep going,
keep doing it.
If you feel stuck, it's just because you're not trying hard enough. Just keep doing more things, putting your name out there, you'll get a big break. That's like telling a quarterback who's throwing interceptions every 3 possessions,
just keep throwing,
keep throwing, dude, because at some point a team's gonna see you make one good throw and they're gonna think, heck yeah. And that's not true.
What did she say then? What was the advice she gave?
She talked about how her relationships with people as low as equipment managers are what set her aside. And she talked about cayenne pepper. I don't know if you saw that, but
a couple socks.
Yes. A couple weeks ago, that's what they did. And she had cayenne pepper with her in one of her hits, and she talked about it, and it was viral.
Yeah, it was a big story.
They posted all about it. And the reason why she got to that story is she talked to someone that she had never met before who happened to be bringing stuff out. And you just need one nugget, she said. If you have one nugget that other people don't have, you are going to be better off. And it is the opposite of lazy, because people who are lazy can just tell the story that you see on Twitter or tell the story that you can see on Facebook. But you have to be so particular in finding little information pieces out. She also talked about how when you're talking with your hands, if it's just you, it's great. People like when you talk with your hands. But if it's an interview, she puts her hand in her pocket, you'll notice. So now when I see her do her interviews, I'm going to be interested in that.
I will also pay attention to that.
Because she doesn't want to take anything away from the person that she's interviewing.
Oh, she doesn't want to expression max or gesture max over the person. That makes sense.
And I feel like I gesture max a little bit. Just sitting here, I am.
I like being an expressive speaker. People always say, oh, Grant, you talk like such a radio person. Well, I'm sorry that I have inflection in my voice.
Grant's like, I'm
sorry.
I'm
sorry. I get excited. I raise my voice when I'm excited. I lower my voice when I'm not. I'm sorry. So I am sympathetic to someone who speaks with their hands. You're supposed to.
Also, the last question that I asked, which I want to ask you as well. I asked her what Lambeau Field feels like, what the energy is like, how it's different than other places, because she obviously goes to a lot of different stadiums, and what the Packers need to do to, get around the corner, and what kind of energy she feels with Matt LaFleur and with Love.
Yep.
And I feel like every single media person has the same answer to this. I'll tell you what she said, and you tell me if you think the same.
Okay.
Or do you want to guess first?
What she said about Lambeau?
Yes.
I mean, you always feel like they always say the same things on broadcast.
Yeah.
It's a bucket list. It's a cathedral to football. It's a like all of those.
Oh my
things.
goodness. She said, I love going, and she was a very genuine person. So I'm not saying she was ingenuine. She said, I love going to Lambeau. It's what football is supposed to be about.
There you go. Good
The
answer.
fans are great. It's always cold, but there are other cold NFL stadiums.
True.
And we always just love it. And Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love, they got to figure something out. That's all she said.
They got to figure something
They just got to figure something out. And it's such a great place. And I wish somebody in the media would come out and say, you know what I think about Lambeau Field? I think it needs to be better in this way. Or I think that it's the best stadium. I mean, I want them to say something that has some kind of substance.
That's not the same thing that you always hear.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have a home field advantage anymore. We've talked about this with Bill. Like, they lose a lot of home games. So, and there's other cold stadiums. She's right. I don't know why they're losing playoff games to warm weather teams. Like when I was little, what year were you born?
2004.
Okay. So even before you were born, like the idea that any team was going to come into Lambeau and win in the playoffs was like, it wasn't a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just, if the Packers had home playoff games, you would pencil them into the next week. Like it was an insane idea that they'd ever lose at home. And now, like, it just recently, I mean, how many games did they lose at home this year? They lost to the Panthers. They lost to the Eagles. I'm not going to hash it all out, but, like, they lose home games now. So I know it looks great on TV. It's great for broadcasts. I wish the home field advantage was a little bit better. But, again, like, I don't think that's exactly what Melissa is talking about. I'm glad you had fun upstairs.
Yeah,
when I asked you to sit down, because we didn't talk about before you came on, I didn't know that you had I'm excited you had a great experience. I look forward to the media party tonight. Can we schmooze? Can we try to go talk to people?
My gosh. Okay. I was just talking to our friend over here, and he's like, are we drinking tonight? And I said,
when you say who's our friend? Oh, Matt?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, we will be. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, we'll be drinking tonight for sure. I might even have a drink before we get there. Should I go across the street, get us maybe a shooter or something?
Well,
we could mix it with the lemonade that we bought.
I found a dive bar last night. Do you want to go to a dive bar after the show? Where's Bill?
Bill's in the bathroom. He's probably on the phone now.
I love how he was the same thing yesterday. He's like, I got to go to the bathroom. And he was gone for like a half hour.
Yeah, he said, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll meet you down there with Grant. So I just thought maybe he had to do his business.
And it was to the point yesterday too, where I think it was Nagler who was like, where'd Bill go? And we're like, he's in the can. It's like, well, to be fair, he's probably moved on to something else. He's just not back yet. So
and that's important on these trips. You just got to get some space to be by yourself because it's constant people overload.
Yeah, and I don't. If I have to do my business, I'm going to try to do it here. Mike,
if you do it in that bathroom,
first
Grant,
of all, it's me and Mike's bathroom, so I'll do whatever I want in that bathroom. It's close quarters. I don't. Yeah. I'll stop there. Let's go to a dive bar after this. I got to take a break. If you want to hang out, we can talk about some other things.
Yeah,
you got things to do.
No, I'll chill here.
All right. We'll be right back. It's the Wisco Sports Show. It's presented by Flipside Pub and Grill. So take advantage. I keep hyping up their fish fry on Friday nights just because it's about to be fish fry season. They have it year round. They also have nightly food specials, whether it's the fish tacos, which are one of my favorite things in town. It might be my favorite food item in town in all of La Crosse. They're awesome. So I love being there on Wednesdays, the burger nights, the wing nights, everything is great. And the happy hour 3 to 6 every weeknight and breakfast 6 days a week as well. So take advantage of all those things. Flipside sends us out here. We're very appreciative of their support of the show. We'll be back in just a couple minutes live here in San Francisco, Radio Row.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Other times we got space. Your eyes looked from your mother's face. While pharmacy in the sand and stuff. May the fall winds blow you safely home. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew. Roll away the dew.
Bill Michaels Show, welcome back. It's the Bill Michaels Show. It's the Wisco Sports Show. Oh my God, Kate. We're live here at Radio Row. Thanks to Flipside Pub and Grill. Appreciate their support of the show always. And I have reached the point of the night where I forgot what show we're on. So that's pretty cool. Bill's show was pretty banging earlier today. Kate was able to convince Evan Williams, Packers safety, to come on over and to join the show. Kate, appreciate you doing that. I thought you were quite the natural getting him over and selling him on the show. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Grant. But I couldn't have done it without you.
You could. Yeah,
one thing that people don't know about you, Grant, is that you know every single person who is here.
I do know a lot of people in this building. Not all.
And so I would have probably known Evan Williams without you. But if I pointed to somebody, you guys, it could be the most random quarter zip polo situation here. Grant would be like, oh, he does radio. I think it's out in Florida, maybe Clearwater. And
this is correct.
I saw one of his tweets one time, and now I hate him.
Yeah, dude. Okay, well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You have met Peter. You have had the privilege of meeting Peter Bukowski in person. What did you think of Pete? Pete's a little bit of a lightning rod online. People have mixed feelings. I don't know that Ebo's the biggest fan.
I think he's a very interesting person.
He's so
and
funny.
I like eccentric people.
I do too.
I like people who have different sides to them and not just their Denali HD. They also care about who they are as a person. And so I think Peter Bukowski likes football, which is awesome for him, but he clearly is also a food connoisseur, and he likes his Barry's boot camp classes in New York City. And I heard all of these stories just from meeting him earlier, and I think that's always very cool about a person.
Are you going to get to meet Kay? So you have you're a large Kay Adams fan.
If I could kiss Kay Adams, I would definitely do it, and that would be the first female I've ever kissed before, I think.
I don't know if we'll just move past that. We don't need to discuss that.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, you can't tell me if there was a certain man in front of you that you have a man crush on, you wouldn't pack him on the lips.
That's a good question, actually. Let me think about that.
Who would yours be?
No, I don't doubt that you'd kiss her. I doubt that you've never kissed. I just doubt that you've never kissed another woman in your life. But that's I don't want to get bogged down in that. You're a big Kay Adams fan. Talk about that while I try to think of a man that I would kiss on the lips.
I think that Kay Adams is doing something that no other podcaster or female has been able to do in the past 100 to ever, because females have never had the type of strength to be able to have their own podcast and be able to have their own opinions, especially about sports. And she's doing it in a way that is more feminine. So you get those people who are 50, 60, 70 years old who are like, well, I hate the way she does things. I hate the questions she asks. I don't think she's good at her job. Well, I think she's great at her job because she is doing this. We have how many booths over here? 170 radio booths?
Correct.
And I would say 160 of them are male-led. So let's say there are 10 of them that are run by females, specifically as the primary leads. And a lot of those females you're going to find have those like strong male traits.
They're proving like I'm just as good as any man.
Right. And they're breaking down sports as if it is a analytical thing, which is absolutely okay. And I'm not breaking them down whatsoever, but Kay is doing it in a easy to listen to kind of feminine, tell me about that, talk to me as if it's just a conversation. And I disagree with anybody who hates her. And I think that what she's doing is very interesting, and I like her a lot.
Chalamet, maybe?
That's who you'd kiss?
Well, I'm just thinking about it. I don't know.
Like, Ebo told me about a year ago that you would only have to give him $20 to get on his knees and do you know what to Riley Green.
Ebo?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
He doesn't even like country music.
I know, but I showed him a picture because I had one on my desk.
Interesting.
And I only $20. RJ and Ebo both agreed. And if they tell you they didn't, I have the screenshot on my phone of the day they said it. I quoted them and I saved it to my Snapchat.
I'd kiss most men on the lips for $20. I'm not for very long, but if it was like you need to peck this guy in the lips for $20, it's $20. Like
$20 is $20.
$20 is kissing someone on the lips. That's probably cleaner than shaking a man's hand. I mean, if we're just being let's just be real about this here. Like it's just a little. It's $20.
Well, it depends on like the herpes situation.
Well, yeah, if they have a cold, obviously they're extenuating circumstances. That would be like $50 maybe.
The people walking by us right now, or maybe behind or in front, I hope they're enjoying the conversation.
I think it's
and I want to know.
Yeah.
For $20.
Okay.
Would you make out with a man who you find very attractive for 10 seconds?
For $20?
No photos.
$20?
$20, no photos.
No.
Would you make out with someone for 10
seconds is so long. No, not for $20.
How much would it have to be?
I don't
50?
know. No, it would need to be tripled.
No, because I would 100% make out with a girl for.
It's different.
It is not different.
It is different. It's
okay,
different.
it's different.
Thank you.
Okay,
It's different.
It's different.
There's got to be someone. There's got to be a guy. Who do I think is the most attractive guy? I don't know. Chalamet. I think Tom Holland is so overrated. Who are the hottest actors in your opinion? Hottest famous people?
Oh, God.
Riley Green's good looking, but he's like too all chiseled.
Very, very country.
Just
I really like Jacob Elordi right now.
Yeah, I maybe thought that once upon a time. I'm over the old or the whole Euphoria thing. Like, why are we getting a new season?
But he doesn't even like doing Euphoria, so that should give him a pass.
Okay, that's fair. He did do a movie with Margot Robbie.
Well, I'm really excited to see that movie because I heard it's basically sea level, you know what?
Sea level,
like soft, you know what? In the 1800s.
Well, in the 1800s, that's
it's the 1800s soft, you know what? As a movie with the two hottest actors, like that, the hottest actor and actress right now.
You can't wrap your mind around what Margot Robbie in Wolf of Wall Street did to men my age once upon a time.
Goodness. The Wolf of Wall Street movie is just fantastically done.
How old were you when that came out?
I have no idea, but I've watched it a handful of times, and you know that I don't watch movies.
This is true. I don't either, unless I'm on an airplane. Then I'm like,
Grant turns is the biggest movie connoisseur you've ever met.
It's interesting the choices that Spielberg was making here in this scene. Notice how he pointed, and then I get off the plane and I'm like, I watched a picture, I watched a film. In the flight today. Kate, I appreciate it. If you want to go get a drink after the show, I'm not doing anything. I know we have a party to get to tonight. Thank you for joining me.
Yes. Stay tuned for more photos. If you're somebody who wants to see Grant all dressed up in his new dress pants that he got when we went shopping.
These pants do rule, and they're very comfortable. I will say they're very soft. I like them. One more segment. We'll come back. Final little things that we haven't gotten to yet, including maybe some Brewers news, because I always kind of enjoy that contrast, talking baseball at Radio Row. We're here because of Flipside Pub and Grill, so please support them, whether you're a WKTY listener in La Crosse or somewhere in Madison, maybe in the Fox Valley up in Eau Claire. Just next time you're in town in La Crosse for whatever reason, state track in the spring, just mark it down. That's the place we're going to get lunch. That's the place we're going to go get a beer after little Timmy or Tommy or Jane runs their 1600, because that's the best event, if we're being honest. Anyways, Flipside Pub and Grill, their food and fun without the franchise, just across from Menards on La Crosse's north side. We'll be back and wrap up day number 2 at Radio Row next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
All right, wrapping things up here. Day number 2 at Radio Row. This morning, I thought it was Wednesday. Like, I can't believe it's only Tuesday this week. Feels like we've been here for weeks, but that's because we're having so much fun and we're cramming so many great experiences into our short time here in San Francisco at Radio Row. And thanks again to Flipside Pub and Grill across its north side for making it happen. A couple of text messages. Sorry, I've been neglecting the text line, and this week I shouldn't do that because we can't take calls. Kristen Sparta says, totally unrelated to sports. Did you get a selfie at Hyatt Nashberry? I need to look up where that is because I could make an effort. Like, if I can walk here from there, I might, but I would like to, Chris. I would bet against it, but if it's surprisingly close to where Radio Row is, then I will make an effort because that would be cool. I would like to do that. Alan O'Clair, thanks for bringing us back to basics here, Al. And I'm sorry, I neglected this topic. Probably a little irresponsible of me. We'll get back to it tomorrow. So we'll start with this tomorrow. Al says, hey, Grant, make a prediction. How long will it take for Jim Leonhard to become an NFL head coach? Really good. Yes, I'm sorry. We should have talked more about that tonight. Probably by the end of the season. Some team will fire their head coach to bring him in, probably, and install him. I don't know, Al, but I keep the Jim Leonhard content coming. Please. Jim in Cottage Grove. Grant, this girl is awesome. She was great on Bill's show on Monday. She's great on your show. You guys should have her on more often. She knows her stuff. I would agree. Mike in Portage says, how would you rate you and yours, Kate's schmoozing abilities? I think I'm a pretty good schmoozer. I think by the end of the week, Kate will have surpassed me. Here's the thing. I have little interest in very famous people or athletes. The people that I love out here are like the radio guy on this specific show. Like those are the people I would want on my show all the time. Like the one guy in this building I want to have back on again is Mike Felger, who was on last year. Like if you were like, hey, Grant, well, this would maybe be a stretch. Grant, if you could have Jordan Love or Mike Felger, who would you want? Like I'd want the other radio guy. I want the media people. That's like what I nerd out on. So I'm great with those people. With the actual famous people, Kate is, by the end of the week, she will be better. Soul Surfer says, this show is interesting, but now it's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know the guy that I would kiss for $10. I feel like, and here's what's frustrating. The second I get off the air, it's going to come to me. It's like, oh yeah, that guy. Forgot about him. I don't know. I'm a Chalamet guy over Tom Holland, though. Elordi's too tall. He's too good looking to, like he's too on the nose. So I don't think that was a bad answer per se from Kate. I think Chalamet's still my guy. He knows ball too. Joined College Game Day and knew ball. So I'll say Chalamet. Follow Kate Gunderson12 on Instagram, the zone_Madison on Instagram as well. Lots of content coming from yesterday, still from today. going to the media party tonight. And tomorrow we will be back, hoping to get some more Packers on. If you missed Evan Williams on Bill's show, go back and check out the live stream. That conversation was great. So you're going to want to see that. And we posted some pictures and stuff as well. So follow our socials. I will be back, as Bill would say, 18 hour. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to you then.